Okay. I'm going to read two things from my book. The first is the first pages of the first chapter, and then the last part I'm going to read you is the first part of the last chapter of the book.
Ah.
Just so you can get a sense of
beginning and the end.
Exactly, and then you can worry about it and find out what happened in the middle. Chapter 1 is called Prophecy. New York City, 1981. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. I wept and screamed and pounded my fists into her. The wary nurse appeared fat, but her middle was girded, making it easier for my fist to release the pain caused by her words. She was a punching bag, and I was being trained for life. After enduring my frantic blows, the nurse asked me if I wanted to see her body. No, I said with unusual certainty. I didn't want the image of my dead mother lingering in my mind's eye forever. Although I congratulated myself for smart thinking for a 15-year-old, I didn't realize that by avoiding the visual, her ghost would continue to haunt. The nurse took me into a yellow waiting room with peeling paint, a neglected tile floor littered with graying gum wads, cloudy fast food wrappers, tattered newspapers, and cigarette butts. Some of the butts were encircled with faded red lipstick, just like my mother's. I looked around, hoping that she would be sitting there, but she wasn't. After a few more minutes, the nurse led me into a messy office so I could make phone calls and spill the news. I called my father, Roy, then my grandmother, Biggs, and Aunt Paris in Wisconsin. Last, I called my best friend, Allegra, who screamed. I was numb. They all had answered the phone with the same gentle innocence. Hello? Mom died, I said, the bearer of the worst possible news. Roy's voice quietly trembled. In utter disbelief, all he could say was, what? The end of the word losing steam as he sighed into it. My grandmother Biggs shrieked while Aunt Paris took the phone from her. I could hear my grandmother grabbing at things that could not support her, causing her to tumble and stumble towards the floor. I could hear the sound of objects falling around her. Aunt Paris said into the phone, Mary's gone? I couldn't answer her. Their nurse took the phone from my tensed grip. I could no longer understand what was happening to me. The nurse said to Aunt Paris, hello, I'm so sorry for your family's loss. Yes, your daughter's okay. Miss Marigold suffered a heart attack on the subway. The nurse listened to Aunt Paris and then she said, yes, the daughter will be taken home. Yes, she's alone. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. She hung up the phone and turned to me. I was looking down at the filthy tile, too weak to lift my head. The nurse took me to meet the police officer who would drive me to my empty home. In the squad car, I squirmed in his mess. I was a lawful citizen who had just become a motherless daughter. I was frightened by the crumbs and dirt, hoping that none of it would touch me. I was still wearing my Navy uniform and my brown loafers from the school day. Mommy would have been mad that I hadn't taken my school clothes off as soon as I got home. My penny loafers brushed over his used coffee cups, candy wrappers and police debris. The copper pennies on my shoes shone amid the mess. The dispatcher's radio blared, filling in our silence. My mind drifted in and out. The dispatcher's codes lacked any trace of humanity. The voice from the console was robotic and cruel as it nonchalantly reported the tragedies of the day. The officer turned down the volume as if embarrassed by the cruelty of things. When he pulled up in front of my high-rise apartment on Fifth Avenue, he seemed sad as he pulled my traumatized self out of the front seat. He stood outside on the passenger side as he stammered, "Are you going to be okay from here?" I said nothing, not clear how I could be okay from this moment on. "Thanks for the ride," I managed to whisper. "No problem," he said. "Bye," I said. I lingered, not ready to face what awaited. "Bye," the officer said, not wanting to let go either. I watched him get back into his side of the car. The coldness of February whipped around me, leading me into my new abyss. I entered the heavy glass doors that led to the lobby and saw my father waiting for me on an iron bench. He was looking down on his knees and rubbing his hands along the creases in his pants. When he saw me, he hugged me so hard that I could feel his moist face sinking into the nerves in my neck. He lingered as if he were waiting to disappear. I too wanted to vanish from the brick-hard reality that had just knocked us down. My mother was dead. Silently, my father and I took the elevator to the 4th floor to enter what used to be my home. We walked among the ruins of the kitchen. The refrigerator door still ajar. The aluminum foil that I had just ripped was still on the countertop, and the Tupperware containers were still waiting to be opened. I had been preparing a surprise dinner of last night's leftovers. It had been chicken cacciatore with extra mushrooms, just like I liked it. When the police called, I was just about to turn on the oven, remembering her list of safety measures. Wrap the chicken carefully in tin foil. You can add the sauce. The foil will hold it in. She had taught me how to reheat leftovers in order to help out more. Her duties as a single mother had been wearing on her. I wanted to please her that night. I just can't believe she's gone, Roy said into the air. I said nothing as I busied my hands throwing the leftovers in their Tupperware containers into the trash. Roy closed the refrigerator door. I started to put the aluminum foil into the trash when he interrupted. "What you doing, Ava? Don't waste that. You don't know what you're doing." "I know you're sad, but life goes on," he said. I held the long box of foil that my mother had touched so many times before. With tears streaming down my face, I said, "Now what?" "Now nothing," my father spat. So that's the beginning of the book. And then this is the
We're going to work on that dark side.
You'll see. There's joy at the end. And then this is the first page of the last chapter. So the last chapter is called Found. And it's Atlanta, Georgia, May of 2006. So we were in February 1981 in New York, and now we're in Atlanta. It's been exactly 14 months, 4 days, and 9 hours since so much of our life was washed away by a single mechanical failure. Everything we had was swept away with the tide of a past life. It's been exactly 13 months since Peter and I walked away from a dream house, and I moved everything we had left to Atlanta, Georgia. It seems like a lifetime since we walked away from each other like zombies, numb and cold. We were refugees fleeing from something life-threatening, our marriage. It's been almost 1 year, 8 days, and 13 hours since I left London, since I dreamed that Peter had died, since Magda and I kissed, and that my body went officially into remission. A friend of Dorian's rented the place that we call home to Rain and me. It's clean and quaint, and it's big enough to hold the meager belongings that we can still call our own. When we need new things, we shop at Goodwill, where others have unloaded their excess, hoping to feel less guilty about their insatiability. We used to go there to give. Now we go there to receive. What a difference a day makes. I have comfortably settled into the torment of my malady. Each day is a new adventure. One day my top lips swell like a tire, taut and plump, spreading from east to west across the plains of my face. Other days my fingers are so stiff and swollen I can't write, type, or open the peanut butter jar for Rain. Some mornings I rise with sand in my veins, pulling me back into bed. On those days I whisper to her, "Today, Mama must sleep." And she crawls into bed with me, clumsily stroking my head with her miniature caress. On those days, I allow the TV to do what I can't, entertain her and make her feel joy. Some mornings I wake up ugly. Those are the nights my cheeks have become inflamed, raw, and leathery to the touch. Those are the nights that the wolf bites, reminding me that I'm never fully out of the woods. I slather expensive steroidal creams on my temporary wounds, trying not to scratch them while I pray for relief. Was it something I ate? After a day or two, prednisone sends the wolf back into the woods. To the naked eye, I'm fine. The shocks within sleep more than ever. I now live ever so carefully, hoping not to awaken them. No one would know from looking at me how much I've had to endure. So much of it happened on the inside.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, ladies.